Welcome to the Therapeutic Food Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Mary Mitchell. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, therapeutic diet expert, and founder of The Road to Living Whole. There are many different diets out there. It's hard to know which one is right for you with your chronic illness and autoimmune disease. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you the foundational pieces every single therapeutic diet out there shares, and also how to use the best one for your particular diagnosis. If you've been looking for a meal planning partner, help navigating the complicated healthcare system, and want to feel better quickly, I'm your girl. Grab your kombucha and notebook. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Prudence Hall, and she is a gynecologist who specializes in hormones and perimenopause, menopause, which, being almost 41 this year, I think I'm in the thick of it. We were just kind of talking about that, and I think that this episode is going to be a really great learning time for you and I both. And I think we're just going to really be validated, and we're going to really learn where to go from here to make sure that we feel our best moving forward into this phase of life. We were also talking about how COVID has kind of started some early hormone problems. It really did a number on the ovaries. And so you might be a little younger and maybe wondering if this is for you. And I would definitely take a listen. So, Dr. Hall, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure, Miriam. One of my avocations is to talk about all these hormones that we deal with as women.
Yeah, so tell me your story. How did you go from medical school, gynecologist, to more of a functional and integrative world? Because that's quite the leap for a doctor to take. And so I want to hear your story.
Oh, thank you. I would say the real miracle is why I became a doctor at all. It's like there are no doctors in the family, and really the way I found that pathway was really examining myself and saying, what do I love? What do I really have a passion about? And I grew up in a family with four girls, and then finally my little brother came along. But it was the conversations that we would have as sisters, and the problems that we faced, and the pregnancies that happened by mistake, and all these wonderful things. And I realized I need to be a gynecologist. It was never that I wanted to be a doctor, but actually at the University of UC Santa Cruz, it's like I need to be a gynecologist. And I did it, and I exited my 4 years of medical school and my 4 years of gynecology residency, and I realized, oh my God, I don't know anything about hormones, nor did I take a single nutrition class, Miriam.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was not part of the curriculum.
It's so crazy to me how nutrition, like that's just where we get our cells get their fuel. And it's just not taught. It's like, oh, that's the dietitian's world. That's not mine. But really,
Ah,
yeah, that's so crazy to me.
yeah, I mean, I started working with nutritionists from the very beginning as soon as I realized, oh my God, I have to study another, I don't know, 10 years to really understand nutrition and aging and how nutrition, the polyphenols affect us, and the inflammatory or anti-inflammatory foods. It's so interesting. So anyway, I went back to school. I started learning, and it's been a 4-decade process. I started using Premarin, which is pregnant mare's urine, and my patients would come back sobbing and say, it doesn't work. It's like, what do you mean it doesn't work? And they'd say, my sex drive is low. My body hurts. It's so inflamed. I can't think. I don't even, well, I don't even know who I am anymore. That's a very typical thing that patients tell me on their first visit. Who am I? Now, that's the upside of menopause and perimenopause. If we really go into if we're called to that, go into an examination of who we actually are. But I realized I was going back and forth between France and the United States, and I started bringing back bioidentical hormones that are the same hormones that our body makes. And then I got hooked up with a very new compounding pharmacy and started making them myself actually here. And the whole game changed, Miriam. Women would come back full of life. And it takes a couple of times, I realized, a couple of visits,
Yeah.
a couple of tweaking. And little by little, I added hormones. So I
Hmm.
started out thinking that menopause, which is now, I would say, about age 44 to maybe 49. It's very
Okay.
rare that I see a patient who's in her 50s who's not in menopause. And by the way, you can continue to have your period for 3 or 4 years, even very regularly, and still be fully in menopause.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that's not the best way to know if you're in menopause or not. And
Interesting.
yeah, I started off with estrogen and progesterone,
Hmm.
bioidentical, the same natural hormones that we make. And then it's like, oh, the thyroid crashes. In menopause, it just starts to weaken after the birth of a child. One of the reasons why women have um, basically postpartum depression is because not only do their estrogen levels fall from 40,000, 30,000, like that, down to five, but also their thyroid stops functioning as effectively because the babies take all the iodine from our diet. So extra iodine in pregnancy is helpful.
Oh,
And so
that's
I
good to
just
know.
started learning. So I added the thyroid, the T3.
Hmm.
That's the major hormone, 6 times more potent than T4, thyroid 4, reverse T3, thyroid antibodies to see if women had Hashimoto's, which a lot of us do, the thyroid stimulating hormone. So I added that. And then I thought, they're still tired. Why are women still tired? Their thyroid is ideal, their estrogen, their progesterone, testosterone.
Yeah.
Like you said, testosterone. When I,
Yeah. So
yeah.
my story was about 37 after COVID. Like started gaining weight. Like I gained like 25 pounds in 3 months. It was, and no diet change, no exercise change. Like it was crazy. And at the time we did test my thyroid. It wasn't too bad, but I wasn't making any testosterone. So we did a topical lotion that helped significantly. Then I got pregnant and I feel like I slept through my entire pregnancy. I could not function for 9 months. At the moment she was born, I felt better. I lost all the weight, which was a crazy first for me.
Mm,
And 5 months later, like I gained 11 pounds in a month and I was sleeping terribly. And I was like, what is going on? It took several more months. I think that was June. I think November is when I finally like decided, okay, it's time for some blood work. And my thyroid was not producing anything. It was like it was it was so bad. He was like, "We're going to start you on 60 of thyroid NP instead of 30 because you're not making anything." And I felt better within a couple weeks. And then it took probably 9 months before we finally went to 120 milligrams, and I was like, I feel like myself.
mm,
And then we also, my testosterone didn't even blip. I was so low, it didn't even register on the test.
oh, God.
So we did pellets, and it was life changing, absolutely life changing. And so I have become the biggest supporter of bioidentical hormone replacement. And so I'm really excited we're going to talk about it
Wow.
because you were saying that it's pretty widely accepted now, but I haven't found that it is in
Mm.
my clients. They still just want to do the what estradiol or the pregnant mare urine,
Oh, that's
and they
so
won't
good.
test. They don't test anything. They just throw it at them. And of course, if your estrogen, it's normally progesterone that goes before your estrogen, and so they're not sleeping, and then it gets worse. And, so then they're desperate. So I help with the food side, which can usually help significantly, but it can't
Yeah.
do what BHRT can do.
Well, combine their magic,
Oh,
lifestyle
yeah.
combined with hormones. So here's the ABC. It's not okay. The gynecologists at this point and do not know the benefits of hormones. So the basic benefits are prevention of Alzheimer's disease. And I see this all the time. Women come in and say, "Oh, my brain's foggy," and I put them on all the components of menopause, including adrenals,
Hmm.
including the hemoglobin A1C, which is how much sugar damage do I have in my body, due to carbohydrates and low estrogen, and also the D3, the sunshine hormone. So I look at all the hormones, and then we can decrease brain fog, heart disease, hypertension. In fact, 85% of high blood pressure is due to high blood sugar, prediabetes, diabetes, and muscle pain, body pain, weight loss. Women gain an average of about 30 pounds in perimenopause and menopause, but some people 60, some people 100. I definitely see women like that. Like you said, 11 pounds came right back on you just like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4 weeks, and I was like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And and being dismissed, the medical gaslighting is what is that new term, right? It's just
It's
crazy.
real.
Like, oh, it's just, that's just kind of how it is. Eat better, exercise more. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much better I can eat and how much more I can exercise, and nothing's happening.
So not to listen to a patient and to dismiss a patient is a crime. Who
Yeah.
knows better about the body? Oh, yeah, I know better about your body, Miriam, than you do. No, so the responsibility of us as clients, I like to refer to us as clients because we don't have to be patient, frankly. We can be proactive.
Yeah.
But our responsibility is to really, if the doctor doesn't hear it, to maybe say, "Did you really hear what I just said?" And have them even repeat it back. And then if they still poo-poo it, I mean, just leave. I mean, because there are very caring doctors who can listen. And, other symptoms are night sweats, waking up all night long, not being able to go to sleep. So, hair loss, aging skin. So, these are significant symptoms. And if you start to have these symptoms, regardless of the age that you are, get your hormones checked. All of the hormones, the thyroid, the pituitary hormones, the ovarian hormones, adrenal hormones are stress hormones. I think you had considerable stress due to COVID, and
Yeah.
probably were you put on DHEA, pregnenolone, maybe some cortisol?
I was put on some adrenal glandulars,
Good.
electrolytes, and adaptogens is what
Great.
we
Yeah,
did.
the adaptogens. I make something called super adrenal, mega adrenal, and I have DHEA, pregnenolone, cortisol complex, just like you are. And then the adaptogens are ashwagandha,
Hmm.
rhodiola, American ginseng. You know,
Yeah. Yep,
so
I did it all.
it all.
And then I made sure to add extra potassium in
Mhm.
as well. I think it was orange juice, coconut milk, and cream of tartar
Oh,
with some salt. And I did that once a day. It did help significantly. But what really helped my adrenal fatigue was testosterone.
absolutely.
Like once
Absolutely.
we added the testosterone, it was night
Yeah.
and day. My numbers had gone down a little bit, but that was like the game changer for me was just supplementing a little bit of testosterone. Because at the time my body was still making it, it was just a little low. So we just kind of bumped it up a little bit.
It's
It was game
powerful.
changing for my stress response. Like it was, I mean, obviously it was everything, but that was what like really got me back to being in a normal state, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh, testosterone is critical for women. So let's talk just a little bit about testosterone. So what does it do? First of all, it builds the muscles, so we're strong. Muscles are actually one of the ways that we can say, how old are you biologically? If you have very weak muscles, poor tendons, so that decreases your biological age. So you want strong muscles, strong bones. You want confidence when you wake up. And I kind of know if my testosterone level is okay. Of course, I test all levels, but it's like if I'm getting dressed in the morning, it's like, no, Prudence, you don't look good. And I try something else and you don't look good. It's like, Prudence, is your testosterone low? And it usually somehow has fallen a little bit. But it gives us confidence. It gives us directional thinking. So in menopause, women can loop and loop through the same things and keep going back. Testosterone forward direction. And that's very helpful when, in terms of women's leadership, having some decisive, after listening and collaborating with everything, decisive action is very important. And testosterone is responsible for that. And I too, Miriam, recently ran out of testosterone and I started feeling down and kind of depressed. It was a whole thing where the FDA did not approve testosterone for women. And that is Abraham Morgentaler and his Harvard team went before the FDA trying to get them to promote this. He's the father of testosterone therapy. I mean, world renowned, a darling man, by the way. But they declined it. And so it was very hard to get testosterone. I kind of ran out of mine. And then I thought, let's just see how this works. My once in a lifetime opportunity to see how I am with testosterone. And I was tired like you were, and I felt
Hmm.
down. Why am I down? What is going on with this sadness? My sex drive went way down, very hard to have orgasms. I mean, I was kind of like a boat without a rudder going back and forth. So it's just like, oh man, I immediately got on testosterone. So even though it's not approved by the FDA, the benefits are so overwhelming that I prescribe it off label. And I see patients more frequently when I have them on testosterone, which is like 90% of my women. Um,
Yeah.
and they tell me just miraculous stories about, you build your muscle mass, you increase your metabolism, you lose weight, their memory coming back. For men, testosterone is probably the most important hormone to prevent dementia. For women, estrogen is the most important hormone to prevent dementia, but boy, testosterone is way up there. So
Yeah.
I prescribe it in cream
Mm-hmm.
tropes under the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm doing a lot now, I would say for the last 5 years, is I'm prescribing injections.
Ooh,
They
okay.
don't make it for women. I wish
Mm-hmm.
that please, pharmaceutical companies, please create it for women. But and you inject a small amount compared to what men inject. And the
Yeah.
advantage of that is testosterone breaks down into metabolites, estradiol and dihydrotestosterone, DHT. And with the cream, the DHT can really rise, and that
Oh.
causes hair loss. So you don't want
Mm.
that. And it can also
Yeah.
cause acne and facial hair. So when you bypass the hair follicles, and by an injection, it doesn't touch any hair follicles, I can get really good levels of testosterone in women. And they tell me their life changes. Oh my God,
Oh
life
yeah.
is changing.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have the complications that of the hair loss or hair thinning, which is terrible for women. So I'm
Yeah.
using a lot of that, maybe the last 7 years, probably. But testosterone, last
So
40.
for the injections, do they have to come into the office for that? Do
No.
they can give them
It's
themselves?
very easy. They get a 1 cc vial. Usually
Mm-hmm.
testosterone cypionate, 100 milligrams per ml, which is still a man's dose, but they'll take, and I give them diabetic needles.
Mm-hmm.
So they're tiny little needles and syringes, and they'll do maybe 10 units a week, which is zero point 0.1 milligrams, a very low dose. Now, men will need zero point 0.5, zero point 0.7, zero point 0.8 per
Mm-hmm.
week. And women just, I mean, we feel so much better, just like you did. And I think our
Yeah.
sex drive is extremely important.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's so unfair to have that robbed from you. Especially after the kids are up and out, and then all of a sudden you're like, we can, and it's not fun and it hurts. And like, okay, this is great bonding, but, like that's just so unfair. And the solution is so simple.
So Mother Nature, I've come to the conclusion, very early in this career, this 40-year decade, of managing more than 40,000 patients over that time, is that Mother Nature doesn't care about the individual. She cares about the herd. And the whole thing is do not become extinct. And so when women become older and we lose our sex drive and we lose our beauty and our radiance, that energy, well, in probably Neanderthal times and even current times, men go to younger women who can have babies. That could be a positive or a negative for older men, but, and we're repopulating and repopulating the sapiens. But we know that, we're overpopulated now. So that's a very, very old biological kind of mechanism, I think. So women don't make
Hmm.
love and we aren't seen, we're invisible and but so I think it's not about us individually, because if it were, none of this would happen.
Yeah. Well, I also have to wonder
Hmm.
how much of it is lifestyle based that can affect it. Now, for me, I was very healthy. I still am, eating very clean, making sure I got enough protein and fiber and variety of nutrients. And I was strength training 4 days a week and, doing cardio. And I was just very active and I still crashed, right? But we do know that lifestyle plays a role
Huge,
in this.
huge.
Yeah, so maybe can we talk about, I really do think that there's a lot of just modern day society where we're sedentary, we're eating way more ultra processed food like products and very nutrient depleted diets. And I truly believe that that plays a huge role in the demise of our health as a whole. And plus all the toxins and estrogen like chemicals and just all of these things.
Yeah. So it's one of the tenets of functional medicine. Dr. Jeff Bland started functional medicine, and I did that very, very early. I've done it for many years, and that changed the way I started viewing the body as an integrated, everything's integrated. It's like when the tree starts to lose its green leaves, we don't paint the leaves. We nourish with minerals and water and food, tree food, all that kind of stuff, and the tree comes back. So the same thing with us. If we ignore our lifestyle, sleep, for example, 8 to 9 hours of sleep, that's when we detoxify. So
Hmm.
we process our toxins and help to, clean the liver and do all of that. If we get 6 hours of sleep, it's kind of like, well, the party's over and the cleanup crew is still half done. And with functional medicine up in Giggs Harbor, when they started this, the first intervention they did was change the diet, and they went more plant-based with high in polyphenols and good amounts of protein, but not excessive protein, lots of fiber, very, no boxed and processed food. You eliminate rice, potatoes, bread, sugar, cereals,
Yeah.
crackers,
So balancing sugars
yeah,
and increasing
gluten-free,
nutrients.
all of these things.
Yeah,
So they found 50% of diseases went away. I mean, yeah,
that's
body
yeah,
pain
that's
and all of this stuff.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I love Jeff Bland. He has the Personalized Institute for Medicine, and he's big, bold health. So he's out there still doing his work. So diet is extremely important. And that was the first time I was introduced to how important diet is. And it's just become a lifelong uh, goal to help women know how to eat, to also heal their gut. So,
Yeah.
hormones in the gut play such an important part, and they really synergize together. So if we're eating processed foods and we don't have fiber, and we're eating, sugar and things like that, the microbiome is not going to be healthy, and then we can become estrogen dominant. So when we talk about estrogen dominance, estrogen to progesterone ratio. So you need to balance the progesterone with the estrogen. And if you have too much estrogen, ovarian cyst, fibroids, endometriosis, all these classic things that when I was a surgeon, so gynecology is a surgical subspecialty that I took care of and worked with. And iodine, by the way, helps to decrease those too. Have you come across that?
Oh.
This is,
Huh?
have you come across the fact that iodine really helps to decrease fibroids and ovarian
I
cyst?
had not learned that yet.
So
No.
that's very
Uh,
helpful. 2, 3, 4 milligrams a day. You don't want to crash the thyroid with too much, but that really
yeah.
helps.
That's incredibly interesting. It's so funny because most of what I have heard is that we're getting too much iodine in our diet and we need to eat a low iodine diet and that helps the thyroid. I know there's like these two different
Fascinating.
camps. So I'm really excited to hear your perspective on this because most of the people that I've talked to are very, they push a low iodine diet and that we get too much of it. And so I would love to hear more of what you have learned about iodine and why it's so essential.
Well, when you look at the iodine compared, American diet compared with a Japanese diet, where they get about 12.5 milligrams of iodine a day in seaweed, kelp, things like that, uh, they really have less breast cancer and a lot of different other kinds they have tremendous longevity also. Their thyroid works great, even though Hashimoto's was diagnosed by a Japanese doctor, their thyroids work much better than ours. And we have a very limited amount of iodine in our diet, because the soil is depleted, and you can get it in seafood, of course. You can get it in,
I can't tell you how many people don't eat seafood.
right. Well, you have to be a little careful. It should be wild seafood. You can even get
Yeah.
wild shrimp, even though they're bottom feeders and they might have toxicity in the stomach. So you have to devein them when you cook them. But yeah, I would say that it's a very, very important mineral. So in pregnancy, the reason why our thyroids decrease dramatically, especially after the second baby, I would say that hypothyroidism, low thyroid production it's very, very common. And that causes low thyroid, causes depression and all kinds of other symptoms. So because the baby takes the iodine out of the mother's body to make the to make the thyroid, their own thyroid gland. Now, Dr. Daryl Turner has done a lot of studies showing that in pregnancy, if you increase your iodine take, that increases the IQ of the baby. So, I mean, I think
Huh.
it's very important. So when women come in and they have borderline thyroid, so the
Hmm.
borderline means that their T3 is it's under 3.1. So there are two different types of thyroid, T4 and T3. T3 is liothyronine, T4 is levothyroxine. So you want your T3 level to be, free T3 level, to be at least 3.1. So I'll see it at 2.9, 2.8, sometimes very low at 2.2. And so rather than, oh, you were that low?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
was at 2.2 and then I was at 2.5 when we tested 4 months later.
So I have women take their thyroid that morning and wait for 5 hours
Hmm.
and then have their thyroid.
Oh, they have me not take my medicine at all.
Mhm.
And then so they wanted to see if my thyroid was making its own, I guess,
Yeah,
because they told me don't take it, like wait until after your blood work to take your medicine.
yeah. That's another way to
Which I
look at
am,
it too. That's another way.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
extremely low. So American endocrinologists tend not to do the free T3, but free T3
Hmm.
is 6 times more potent than T4. So when you mentioned that your doctor put you on NP thyroid, it's one of my favorites. Plus, I have a New Zealand thyroid that I use too, but that's one of my favorites because it's T3 and T4. A lot
Hmm.
of times in women, the T4 doesn't break down into T3. Now, iodine helps with that.
Oh,
So
okay.
I put them on iodine and selenium. I say 3 or 4 Brazil
Hmm.
nuts a day or 200 micrograms of selenium. And very frequently they come back with improved thyroid where I don't have to put them on, the real thyroid hormone.
That's incredibly helpful. Yeah, our diets are just so depleted, and I have to think that, I'm sure there's probably some studies out there around the world, maybe not here, where that show the direct correlation of a nutrient depleted diet and, an increase in these in women. And I think in America we're seeing just it's skyrocketing, and I just we don't get enough, and our soil is so depleted. Our farming practices, regenerative farming is making a comeback, thankfully,
Thank goodness.
and I think that that's truly going to be the future, hopefully, as things move forward. And hopefully, our next generation, our kids, will be able to have a completely different health outcome than we've had in the
Yeah.
last like 3 generations.
Yeah. So diet coupled with hormones, coupled with the complete lifestyle, that's the package. It really is the package.
Yeah. I remember when my hormones were crashing and my adrenal function was kaput, I could not sleep to save my life.
Oh,
I would be waking up between 2 and 3 a.m. I wouldn't be able to fall back to sleep. And it's just like, I know I need sleep, but I can't do it. And I think that that's what's so frustrating. It's like, okay, I know I need 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but my body will wake up and I can't fall back to sleep. And
exactly.
and it's the hormones, right? It's the
Yeah,
testosterone, the progesterone.
absolutely. Right.
It's also a little bit of lifestyle. I found if I fell asleep between 8:30 and 9, I could sleep all night, but if I fell asleep between 9:30 and 10:30, I wouldn't be able to, which I found very interesting.
Here's what happens there. So as you get into the early morning hours, like 12, 1, even after 11, our cortisol goes up. Now, cortisol is a natural hormone that our adrenal glands make, and it's our adrenal stress glands, and they sit on top of the kidneys. Here's the kidneys, they sit right on top of it. So if you get past that point where your cortisol is dropping throughout the afternoon and the evening to the point where the cortisol levels are rising, then you're awake. It's like the body says, wake up, wake up. So it's like this low estrogen, which you have had,
Hmm.
cortisol levels. So when you give estrogen, the cortisol levels come down. And as long as you go to sleep before, 10 is an ideal time, but let's say it's 10:30, your cortisol levels will not rise. And that allows you to sleep much more deeply. If you're awake, then the signal, cortisol is the signal to the body, something's happening, got to get going. Come on, come on. It's not nighttime. So when the cortisol levels are allowed to visit you in sleep, your
Hmm.
estrogen levels are high enough so cortisol won't rise to a crazy level, then we can sleep all night. So that was classically what was happening with you. You had to go,
So interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just I was a big hot mess. And I feel like when women go into perimenopause, that's what happens. We just become this big hot mess and we're looking for answers and we're being dismissed. And hopefully we get a good doctor, but there's no guarantee. What they say takes modern allopathic medicine 17 years to catch up to the science.
Oh,
I mean, even with
it
HRT,
might
like
be
that's,
17 now with the internet, but it used to be, 5 years or 25 years to catch up. So let's talk about
yeah.
perimenopause.
Yeah, let's do it.
Really, because it can happen at any age. It can happen generally in our mid to late 30s. So I have women come in all the time who are 30 and say, Prudence, something has happened. Something is wrong. It's like, what's wrong? And they start mentioning these side effects of, I mean, these symptoms of menopause. I'm tired. I'm depressed. I'm down. I'm not myself. I don't know what's going on with my brain. And these are all complete absolute tip-offs that doctors need to listen to. It almost doesn't matter what your hormones are at that point. If you, although I measure the hormones, but if you have those symptoms, something is going on with your hormones. And the second thing is that you want to tell your doctor and guide your doctor, I need my estrogens checked. That would be estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. You need to have your adrenals checked, DHEA sulfate, pregnenolone, and cortisol. Check the thyroid. Those were the ones I mentioned before, T3, T4, free T, those, you have to check those. You want to check the D3, which is the sunshine hormone. So you check them all and you make sure that your doctor is really going to check those. And they're not
So
going to say, yeah,
So from my side of things as a coach, what happens is I will tell clients, get all of these looked at. And their doctors will go, I don't do that. They're unnecessary.
yeah, that's
And I don't know if it's an ego thing, like since they're being told, the patient's telling them what they want, they refuse. I also don't know if I don't know the insurance side of things, so I don't know if plays a role in that. But I can tell you more often than not, if they go to their GP or their GYN and ask for these, they won't do it.
okay, so here's where we become, definite. And I want you to know that if a doctor doesn't listen to you and what you would like, then that doctor is not the right doctor for you. It could be the ego. Look, my personal ego has nothing to do, first of all, with me. I mean, I'm not the brain, I'm not the body, I'm not the thoughts. So it has nothing to do with me. And certainly when patients uh, suggest things and tell me things that are unusual, that, I mean, now I've heard probably everything in 40 years. But if something happens, like I didn't know this cream of tartar thing you were talking about, it's going to stop you and say, oh, what's that cream? It's a reason for us as doctors to say, well, gee, that's so interesting. Another thing that I just learned. That's another symptom. Like women started telling me all about their GI complaints. Oh my God, I have GERD and bloat. That's a classic symptom of perimenopause and menopause. And the reason why it's so important to measure the hormones is what hormones, when they're low or deficient, cause depression. Low thyroid, low estrogen, low testosterone, low adrenals. So how are we going to know? How am I going to know if I don't measure those? Oh, no, your adrenals are good, even though you're tired, but you're tired because you're in perimenopause. So it just completely sorts out. This is you're gaining weight because of these low thyroid and low estrogen, low testosterone. You feel depressed because of these. Also, your low D3 sunshine hormone that causes depression and lower immunity. Women who say I'm getting sick all the time. Everything becomes crystal clear when you look at the core hormones in terms of
Yeah.
what's causing what. And so if your
Yeah.
doctor won't do it, I don't know what to say. I would say I
Fine.
really would
I
appreciate.
usually go, well, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so naturopathic doctors are plentiful. And so I will say look for a naturopathic doctor in your area that
Right.
because they are the GPs, really. They're
Yeah,
the GPs here and they can prescribe pharmaceuticals and they can do all of that
sure.
stuff. But then also they'll say, "Oh, well, insurance won't cover that." That is bull crap because
Right.
my doctor, who's a functional medicine doctor, ran all of those that you're recommending, and it was about 4 or 5 grand worth of labs, and I paid $50.
That is very, very true. And if someone doesn't have insurance, my office personally scouted out a couple of different companies, Access Labs, Vibrant America, where you can get
Yep.
all those labs for $200 because you have to open that door, and
Yeah.
it could be several $1,000s to get those labs done. But everybody needs to have access to that. And even it doesn't a 30-year-old. I love having a 30-year-old or a 20.
Well, the prevention is my
Yeah,
favorite.
come in and say, I just want to make sure that I'm going to age well. It's
Yeah.
great. Oh my
Yeah. And then
God.
it's like, okay, let's get your iodine, let's get your selenium, let's check your diet, let's make
Yeah,
sure you understand how important sleep is.
yeah,
Prevention is my absolute favorite. Like when people, I normally get people in crisis, right? Chronic autoimmune disease, chronic illness. And so I'm helping to clear the smoke so that the labs can find out what's really wrong, right?
yeah.
Or they finally have figured out one thing that's wrong and we're focusing on that. And um, but my favorite is when somebody comes to me, they have elevated blood sugar, elevated cholesterol, and they just want to prevent it. And I am able to prevent, because those are the dominoes that lead to chronic
Hmm.
illness. And I'm like, if I can start here and reverse it now, like it's so easy. The results are very quick. People are very happy.
Very cool.
Um, and it's like, so yeah, I wish, and my hope is that this is the future of medicine, that, in my 30s, I got shingles at 32.
Oh,
That was, everybody was asking me which is more painful, shingles or natural childbirth, and I'll say shingles any day of the week. That was the most painful thing, but it's like to have that low of immunity, that should have been putting off some flags of like we need to dig deeper into this. And who knows, maybe I wouldn't have had that big crash at 37, and then my thyroid taking a dump after my third child. If I had known, oh, you should take extra iodine while you're pregnant, I had no idea. I absolutely would have if I had known I needed to, but I didn't know. And I'm in this world, like,
that's
and but all I hear is the anti-iodine. And so it's so interesting, to hear the iodine. And is there a test
yeah. You
to
can test your
see?
iodine. It's a urine test, which is very accurate, and just like you check our intracellular iodine, intracellular magnesium, so you can
Hmm.
definitely do very detailed analyses of your nutrients, which is I find that helpful. Um,
Yeah.
I would say, Miriam, that you were very lucky in many ways that you recognize that this is not normal. And I think that that association with COVID is a correct one, because it does affect the ovaries differentially. And you were able to kind of, that maybe gave you confidence to say, I'm not crazy, or this is not something that's just, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because
I'm definitely one of those that I advocate for myself very strongly.
very,
And I've been able to find the doctors who listen and will, if I insist on something, they're willing to say, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens.
yeah,
And then also, I'd also like to try this. I'd also like
I
to look
love
at
it.
this. And here's why. And if you can tell me why, I'm like, sure, I'll pay for that. Because it's like I want to know. And I do believe that everybody would do that. They just don't know. They don't know that it's okay to do that. They don't know how to find a doctor who will listen to them. They also, I think, what I run into is the insurance model of, people don't want to pay out of pocket because it feels expensive, not realizing that it's kind of a upside down pyramid. You pay a little bit in the beginning and it just gets bigger and bigger over time because
Oh,
you never
yeah,
get better. Versus if you invest up front, you pay less over time.
absolutely. The diseases
Yeah,
prevented are enormous. You mentioned autoimmune disease.
yeah,
Menopause increases autoimmune disease, all of them. So it's just like,
yeah,
because what happens is when estrogen is low, up goes the stress in the body, up goes the
hmm,
blood sugar, up goes the LDL cholesterol, which is typically bad one, but really it's bad because of something called the apolipoprotein B, the ApoB, and the LP little a. And then up
hmm,
goes, did I say inflammation?
yeah,
Inflammation, stress, sugar, and those are the core causes of most diseases. Like
yeah,
90% of cancer has inflammation as a basis. And you gain
yeah.
weight.
And blood sugar. Yep.
Absolutely blood sugar.
Yeah, I mean, my
Absolutely.
my biggest thing is, and it has been my entire health coaching career, is let's eat in a way that keeps your blood sugar naturally stable. You
You,
know, And like it's and I have a variety of meal plans, but my goal behind all of them is nutrient density and keeping your blood sugar stable. And if you do that, you're anti-inflammatory, you're balancing your blood sugar, you're getting the nutrients, and your body is able to function optimally
Mhm.
in that environment. And it's like I don't have to say, oh, I don't specify all these things because it's overwhelming, but it's like that's what how they're designed, right? And it's just
So,
like here's health wrapped in a pretty little bow, and it's a launching point for you to keep going with it. And I wish more people would take advantage of the prevention of it, and that they were encouraged to by their doctors. I think that that would I've had doctors tell me they know food matters, but nobody will do it, so why bother? And that just enrages me because I'm like, you're the doctor. If you told them food matters, you need to get rid of the processed food and focus on more real foods, even if they're not doing it quote unquote perfectly, it would help patients in every area of their life, especially the younger they are.
it is critical, and the food is delicious. Like you just look at chocolate, you know,
Yeah.
70 to 85% chocolate, and there's so many polyphenols and flavonoids and all. It's just it is a superfood. It's great. I add extra raw cacao to to various things, and so the diet is good. It's fresh. It's like eating in Italy. You have
Yeah.
this fresh vegetables and meats that are pasture raised, and I think that the healthy diet is a wonderful diet. And okay, so maybe we can't eat rice, but we can eat wild rice, which is a grass, and that's going to
Hmm.
store the gut and the gut bacteria and the microbiome, and we can eat olive oil. Ooh, I have a
Yeah.
little story that when I lived in Spain for a year with my family when I was 15, 16. And I felt like I was fat. I was this teenager. Looking back, I wasn't at all fat. I thought I was fat. And I kind of looked around at how much olive oil the Spaniards ate. So I started drinking olive oil. This is like 50 years ago, guys. I started drinking olive oil and I lost all the weight that I had, which was probably 10 pounds, so quickly. And it's like, so olive oil is a big part of this diet. I mean, it's one of the superfoods, and you don't have to drink it, although I think it's great to have a couple of tablespoonfuls a day or more. But this is a diet that's rich in healthy oils and butter. You look at butter. Okay, is butter unhealthy? Well, it has a lot of butyric acid in it, which feeds the microbiome. So butter,
Hmm.
olive oil, chocolate, fresh vegetables. I mean, oh,
I
your
know.
clients must be amazed. I'm just so happy to eat all this great stuff.
Oh, yeah. And I also teach how to add variety without without having to buy a bunch of food also is the herbs and spices and all the things, the health benefits of those. And yeah, and I think they're always amazed that, oh, I can have dessert. Now, is it ultra processed? No, it's almond butter and coconut oil mixed with cacao and some honey and some salt or pureed pumpkin
Yeah.
with some gelatin and honey and, coconut milk and just very rich, satisfying delicious
Mhm.
things, desserts, but then they're satiated after
Yeah.
and they're not craving more. And I think that one of the things that happens when you switch to real food is you learn what it feels like to feel full.
Mhm.
And people don't know what to do with that in the beginning. It's such a foreign feeling to actually feel satiated, right? And I always put it this way, like people are scared of fat. So I love that you talk about the olive oil thing because I reduce a lot of the grains and the potatoes and things like that and really focus on the proteins and the veggies, lots and lots of veggies and lots of variety of veggies. Um, and people are like, oh, fat makes you fat. And, it's going to raise my cholesterol and it's going to,
Oh, it
give me
lowers your
heart
cholesterol.
problems and I'm going to gain weight.
Mhm.
And actually the opposite is true. And so I always say, just give me 6 weeks. Give me 6 weeks. Let's just try it out. I'm like, think about it though. If you go to a French restaurant, how full are you after that little tiny piece of duck and that creme brulee? And then go to an Italian restaurant where you start with bread and you have pasta and you have dessert and you're hungry by the time you get home. I'm like, you have to think the French food is full of fat. Creme brulee is egg yolks and cream, right? And the duck is very, it's very heavy, it's greasy and all that, but you're full for hours.
Yeah.
And that always kind of, and I'm like, so just give it a try. Give me 6 weeks. And they're always amazed.
It's
Like,
very, very effective. And
yeah,
I mean, the fiber alone in whole foods is going to fill you up. So
yeah.
when I help people lower their cholesterol levels, especially their ApoB's levels, fiber, even if it's just a premixed fiber and water, drink it down at night. And that's when we make our cholesterol, and the cholesterol gets put into the gut. And so this binds up the cholesterol and we excrete it rather than recirculate it. So, yeah, I mean, you start thinking about, well, what are the fiber-rich foods? And plants,
Yeah,
really plants I don't know, all the beans, lentils, those type of things.
yeah. Yeah, and people, there's so much noise out there that people don't know which direction to go and what's right. And so I love that you were able to guide your clients, your patients
Yeah.
in that way because it's, to come from a professional, it really is empowering to be like, okay, I can eat these things. Olive oil makes food taste good. Butter makes food taste good. Boiled chicken with, steamed broccoli with nothing on it is pretty dang disgusting.
Yeah. Dump some olive oil on
Yeah.
it afterwards.
Yeah, olive oil and some salt, and it's gonna taste amazing.
Chocolate cake.
But also we need cholesterol, we need
Absolutely.
like enzyme, we need nutrients for the enzymes to even create our hormones, and so and to reduce stress in the body. If we're nutrient depleted, our body is stressed. Right? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like, it really does take this whole effort. But what I found was no matter how well I ate and how much I exercised and how much slept I still needed that extra. I needed my thyroid looked at. I needed hormone replacement therapy. And that was a game changer for me. I mean, I just got to the point where my face doesn't have that hypothyroid swelling and I've been gaining muscle and I've been, losing weight, not as quickly as I would like, which, is a whole other thing. But I think that that's part of the uphill battle, right? And it just is a lot slower than it was in our 20s when we're in our 40s. But it's like it doesn't stop me from being consistent. And so that little extra edge
Oh,
to be able to get that is so powerful when you're doing everything right and it's still not working. It's very frustrating.
very frustrating. So we want to combine the exercise with it too. So one of the things I do for my exercise, because I'm really super busy. I mean, I'm doing this Legree method, which is really, really tough. But also when I'm not doing that, I'll do the high intensive intervals and I'll do 90
Hmm.
seconds of walking on the treadmill, 30 seconds of, all out. And you can
Hmm.
actually see the pulse rate increase in those 30 seconds. And I just do 6 sets, so that's 12 minutes. And that I think is one of the most effective ways to really get your metabolism going and to lose weight, combined with hormones and the diet that you're talking about, which I totally endorse. So it really it takes a family. It takes a family of things. And the American medicine has no interest in prevention. Thank
Mm-mm.
God naturopathic medicine does. Thank God that it's just like we are used to, here's the pharmaceutical for that one disease. Now, that works with syphilis. It's great with syphilis. Syphilis, one antibiotic. But we're in an age of complex, multifactorial diseases that have, inflammation, toxicity, high sugar, everything at its root. And
Yeah,
genetics, 10% of genetics will create diseases. So we no longer can have that kind of, that's the treatment for that one thing. You think about heart
yeah,
disease. Oh my God, it's everything. The mind, the body, the food, the hormones, everything comes into play. So we're in a
yeah,
complex situation, and we really need to put prevention ahead of just one pharmaceutical. As much as I think that, the major advantages and advances in medicine have come from high-tech pharmaceutical industries, where they
yeah,
really are targeting, like we now have a cure for AIDS, basically. I mean, you can
Yeah.
have zero, zero HIV and be, completely no non-detectable, and that's life-giving. And also, my son developed stage 3 melanoma at the age of 34, and
Oh,
well, that would have been really bad news, but a pharmaceutical company came up with the cure. I mean, really, the tremendous cures for those things. So I in no way do I minimize pharmaceutical companies at all. It's
yeah.
just that we cannot primarily be pharmaceutical. I mean, depression is not protein deficiency, you know?
I look at it as reactionary medicine versus a preventative
Yes.
medicine. And when it comes to long-term health span, prevention is where it's at. And then if we do develop something later, like I have a friend who developed lupus very randomly in her late 30s, and her kidneys were shutting down and she was in the hospital for a week, and to this day she's still on two medications, the lowest dose possible, but she tried getting off of them and her numbers started climbing again. And it's like, thank God those medicines are there, right? She eats well, she sleeps well, she exercises, she takes great care of herself, but she still needs that little extra. Thank God
Yeah,
for that.
that's
You
really
know?
important. Really important. When I think about one of the really advantageous things for our listeners to do is to drink 6 cups of green tea a day or matcha, because I have a patient who I'm very close with, and she developed an early leukemia, and she went on the matcha. Now, matcha is green tea that's just all ground up. The entire plant is ground up. So you get the fiber, you get everything, and you get very high concentrations of the ECGC, which is what's in green tea. And she started drinking green tea. I think it was four cups a day of the green tea plus 3 of the matcha. She went back to her doctor 6 weeks later. He said, "Well, you don't seem to have leukemia anymore, but it'll probably come back. But by any chance, are you doing anything?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm on matcha and green tea." He said, "That does it. That did it. I really think that did it. Keep on it because it has a tremendous effect on cancer prevention and early cancer treatment."
That is so fascinating. I love I guess what I think is funny is our return to traditional medicine
Mhm.
is really what it is, because traditional medicine has known this for years, thousands of years,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And modern allopathic American medicine is just now catching up. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know somebody who had stage 3 breast cancer and they did immunotherapy before they tried chemo, and it completely she had no cancer after 6 weeks of treatments, you know. But she was also cleaned up her diet. She went zero sugar. She went or completely organic, wild grass-fed beef, wild fish, all of that stuff. Like she just cleaned up everything, and she's going to stay that way. But it was like the advances are there, but it's like, gosh, if green tea is an easy prevention,
Easy.
you
You
know.
also think about what else is great for, to help decrease cancer, and is ginger and turmeric. So
Hmm.
they actually protect the DNA. Antigenesis is very important. So when a little cell, we're anti-cancering all the time. The immune system comes
Right.
in, gets rid of the cancer. So we're always making cancer. And it's fine as long as there's no blood supply to it,
Yeah.
angiogenesis. And as soon as that blood supply is hooked up with that cancer, that can really cause the cancer to grow. But ginger and turmeric are anti-angiogenesis. So that's another thing to really include in our diet. I'm sure you talk about with this with your clients all the
Oh, yeah, but it's like I'm always learning more. I know about turmeric and ginger for pain and
time. Mm,
inflammation. I
inflammation.
did not, and I've heard that they have anti-cancer properties, but I did not know about that. So
Yeah.
that's
Antioxidant,
interesting.
anti-angiogenesis.
Yeah.
We can add it to stuff. Of course, as you
Oh,
got
easy.
the
Yeah.
turmeric is wonderful. I eat a lot of Indian food, and one of the reasons why the Indian population has less Alzheimer's disease, studies are saying now more and more that it's because of the turmeric. They have such a rich turmeric diet. Um,
So
but fun. Oh,
interesting.
it's just fun. So much to learn.
Yeah, there's so much to learn. So going back to hormones and just kind of to recap and to empower women to go and talk to their doctors and find doctors, what what can we do to empower them?
Okay.
from after everything that they've learned, where do they go from here?
That's a very, very important question. So, number one, don't doubt what you're feeling. Don't kind of say, oh, probably because I only am sleeping 7 hours rather than nine. Or oh, I'm probably feeling this way because of X. Always think, could it be a hormonal problem that's causing these symptoms that I have? Because, we're mind, body, and it could be other things outside of ourselves, but frequently it's what's inside. So accept how you're feeling, write it down so you really are aware of how you're feeling. And then what you do is you go to your doctor and tell them that you'd like to get some hormones done and drawn. And the hormones that I mentioned are the hormones that are very important. And most doctors will say, oh, happy to do that. It might be a little bit more money than your insurance will cover, but generally, like you said, it was $50, it was a little bit more. And then what you do is you might need to educate your doctor. A great book to pass on to your doctor is Estrogen Matters. It's by Avram Blooming, and he's a big oncologist who just retired. And he talks all about how estrogen does not increase cancer, how even if you have breast cancer, you can take estrogen. He's data driven, and this is his field, but it's a good book. I think it's a reputable book talking about all the studies. And patients are frequently giving their gynecologist the book. Well, have you read this? I'd like to give this to you, or download it or buy it. So you can educate your doctors. And when patients educate me, I am just delighted. I'm delighted that I didn't know something that they knew. And so, how you, when you go into menopause or perimenopause, you stay in that state for the rest of your life, 40, 50 years, and the symptoms just get worse and worse. So identifying that process right at the beginning, even if it's mild, is very important. And I want you to know a doctor who doesn't appreciate your input into their health is behind the times. They haven't been to the library enough. They haven't been educating themselves. And the way medicine is practiced now, I mean, they might spend 10 minutes with a patient. I spend an
Right.
hour to an hour and a half, depending on, how complex the patient is and how many other problems they have going on with a first patient. And I need that time to get to know them. I really need that time. And so I don't want to blame doctors, but if really the doctor dismisses you, ghosting is such a good word because really it is that exactly that, then
Yeah.
talk to your friends. A lot of times uh, I'll tell people you're trying to find a good obstetrician, call the labor and delivery floor. Those nurses will tell you immediately the two best obstetricians. And they love telling you the two best obstetricians because they don't like the doctors who rush patients into C-sections or who don't show up. Most of them do, but some people have bad bad habits, some doctors.
Yeah.
So take care of
Yeah.
yourself, love yourself and allow this to build into a passion for lifelong health, vitality, radiance, beauty. And beauty, of course, emanates from the inside, from these women go into menopause and they feel bitter and angry and sad, and they feel like nobody even notices them. And that is not the path. Don't go down that path. Go down the path of radiance. And, we have a biological age, and that's what we're talking about, Miriam, right? Our
Yeah.
biological age, which is highly modifiable. We have a chronological age, and unfortunately, young kids, 12, 15, are getting very sick. So that's not the most dependable age to say, am I healthy? Am I going to live a long time? That's not the one. It's the biological age. We also have an emotional age. So heal yourself from trauma. I've done a
Yeah.
lot of trauma work, a lot of
Yeah.
trauma work in terms of just getting to know myself and getting to know where those triggers that cause me to derail or to hurt somebody or to, act out. And then
Yeah.
also spiritual connection, meditation, getting to know yourself, getting to really, wonderful retreats that talk about,
Yeah.
all the aspects of consciousness is important. So it's a big game being a human.
Yeah.
Game.
And it's as our world kind of gets thrown through a loop, it's a really good opportunity to pause and reconnect
Mm.
and advocate for ourselves that maybe in a way we haven't before. And so I love that. Thank you so much again for your time and your wisdom and your empowerment. It's truly a blessing to learn from you and to get the time to talk to you. It's been so fun.
Oh, it really has been, and many blessings upon you for helping, helping in a field where doctors know nothing about this.
It's truly my pleasure.
Thank you.
I absolutely loved this conversation with Dr. Hall. She is a wealth of knowledge. I love that she went to functional medicine from the get, and I love her passion to get the word out about HRT. It is absolutely life-changing. I will shout it from the rooftops over and over and over again. As Dr. Hall and I were talking, we talked about the essential role that diet and lifestyle choices play in hormone health. They aren't the end-all be-all, but they are the foundation that makes every other therapy work effectively, and hopefully can postpone the amount of time you are on HRT as well. And this is where I fit into the health puzzle. I do my very best to make eating for lifelong health as simple of a change as possible for you with my meal plans and recipes. I want to remove all the noise out there surrounding food and show you exactly what it looks like to eat for nourishment, mind, body, and soul. I do this for you through my therapeutic food framework. In there, I do all of the heavy lifting for you in creating meal plans with few ingredients, simple recipes, yet tons of flavor, sharing all of my tips, tricks, and shortcuts so you aren't spending hours in the kitchen, plus how to talk to friends and family, enjoy holiday dinners, travel, and more. And when needed, follow a therapeutic diet prescribed by your practitioner for things like mold toxicity, histamine intolerance, hormone balancing, leaky gut, SIBO, and more. All of my resources for you are in one place that you'll have lifetime access to. You also get coaching sessions with me to help you individualize the program and to have emotional support that you need during this season of life. Change is hard. It's lonely also, but it doesn't have to be. No need to be an expert in the kitchen. You can be new to cooking or an expert cook, and you'll be able to make meals and desserts you and your loved ones will enjoy eating that also support your health versus tearing it down. And all of those roadblocks that have hindered your journey in the past, you have a coach who can help you overcome them with different strategies and support so they no longer trip you up. You deserve to feel your absolute best, and I would love to help you navigate how to eat real food and enjoy it. Head down to the show notes to learn how to connect with Dr. Prudence and more about the therapeutic food framework.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you found this episode helpful, would you do me a favor and help others find it by leaving a review, sharing a screenshot on social media, or sharing the link with a friend? By you sharing what you've learned, others are able to find this podcast and join our community. Be sure to check out my website, www.roadtolivinghole.com, for over 160 delicious recipes, a variety of meal plans, and a blog packed full of even more healthy living tips. If you'd like to learn more about how to work with me as your coach, you can schedule a free consult through www.roadtolivinghole.com/health-coaching/. Until next time, friend. Bye.